That is the legendary song penned by Ruben Blades, even though it is a biographical song all about Hector Lavoe's life. And so for, those of you who want to impress your friends, make sure you know that, because those people who speak Spanish, or at least understand Spanish, and hear how autobiographical the song sounds, if you have not seen the film or have not studied Hector Lavoe's life, you might think that he wrote that as a way to describe a lot of the trials that he had been through in order to achieve the incredible success, becoming the king of salsa, representing the island of Puerto Rico, and how all of that ties in together, being a master storyteller on the music. However, this song was a gift, really, from Ruben Blades, representing Panama, to Hector Lavoe and his role in the creation of and proliferation of salsa music. And so just wanted to share that with you all as we talk about stories that are about all kinds of Black folks and folks of color on this week's edition of Reelblack Radio. And Mike D is in the house.
Hey there, Stephanie Renee. Hey there.
And I still don't hear him.
Hey there.
We are trying to get Mike's voice up in the microphone.
Should I use this one?
Wait.
Oh, they're all back. They're backwards. That's why. Okay. She's turning around. Hey, now I'm super loud, right?
There you go. Yes.
Like an octopus up in here. Who was in here before? It's hot, and I know it's like since we were last here, it turned into October, and it's like freezing out, but
it's not
hot.
Dude, watch your mouth. This is not freezing.
Oh, you're saying it could be colder?
Yeah, heck yeah.
And water could be wetter, right? Like Trump says, this is one of the wettest of wet. No, I woke up.
We're not taking him as an authority on anything, are we, really?
Well, that's why people need to go out and vote. I'm so glad you had Mr. Diaz on right before, because people let go of their power too often, and I think we just have to go out. I think... as Harriet Tubman said, we could have freed a lot more people if they had known they were enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read that quote, it's sort of like you read it like she said, like on her deathbed. Oh, I could have freed a lot more.
Oh Lord, that's you.
Don't
put that off on other people. I don't hear it that way in my head.
So how does she sound to you?
Like a normal person, not on her deathbed.
I think it's like like my grandmother. You know what? I could have freed a lot more, y'all.
Exactly. I don't hear her as frail. I don't think I think of her or hear her in my head as frail on any level.
Well, we don't have any guests today. Like I'm not going to announce any more like pre-announced guests. Like next week, Busby Berkeley's gonna be on, because I'm sick of like people DMing me and saying, yeah, I'm down for whatever, and then the day comes.
And you said Busby Berkeley, like all of us just know who that is.
Well, he'll be on next week, so you'll find out.
Okay.
I'm not announcing any. We'll have surprises from now on, because I hate disappointment. But the reason I bring up Harriet Tubman, and you should all vote anyway, is because that was a big controversy a couple weeks ago. We didn't really get a chance to. Yeah.
Well, so and we can set it up this way as more of a general conversation about how ridiculous I think Black folks in America can be sometimes. So there was considerable conversation that was raised yet again, because this isn't the first time that we've heard this argument pop up among Black Hollywood, that Cynthia Erivo, who was the star of The Color Purple on Broadway, was selected to play Harriet Tubman in the film biopic.
Right.
And all of a sudden there was an uproar around the fact that though she is African, she's London born. And folks were like, but an African American needs to play this role.
Right. And
it turned into a thing.
Yeah, which is one of the things Hollywood likes to do. They think British actors have more pedigree. They're better trained. They can speak the Southern dialect better. So we've seen that with David Oyelowo playing King, and now this Harriet Tubman movie. And claiming ownership to certain stories and who gets to tell the story, I guess is the factor. Did you have an opinion about it, or you just looked at it like it was a football match or something? people weren't going to have.
I think that this is another case of, and like I say, it's been a controversial conversation, but one of my friends from undergrad has raised the conversation that she will know that we as Black folks have made it in film and TV in particular when we are allowed to make as much nonsense as the white mainstream does. That at this stage of our kind of involvement and evolution, if Black directors or actors decided to make a Weekend at Bernie's, as an example, they would be tossed out with the bathwater because there are so many more important Black stories to tell, and things that that we need to, basically, that we carry the weight of our entire culture on our shoulders at all times, and that it's unfair, and that this idea of who gets to tell the story, how they get to tell it, the way that we police so much of the Black storytelling.
Because we know there's still very few opportunities. Once they made that one Nina Simone pick and they got it wrong and it didn't make any money, it kind of hurt anybody's opportunity to make another one. So
I hear that on a lot of different levels, but at the same time, I'm like, are we really? How much energy are we going to waste between who within the kind of context of this realm, especially knowing that so much of the casting when it comes to main characters in this way is about potential box office, like who are known names who they think will be a draw for people who want to see the acting on the screen, or at the very least come because they know about a person's reputation and want to see them in these roles. And so, we have had consistently a mix of both American-born Black folks and foreign-born Black folks that have been incredibly successful on the Broadway stage, on the the small screen and the large screen. Why are we picking and choosing? Nobody has these arguments about frickin' Idris Elba.
Well, I think three things come to mind. One, it's all part of the divide and conquer of things. So, one, in terms of the identity of Blackness and African American, unfortunately, the way the culture's set up is like people identify and make judgments about you on sight. So if you have a certain amount of melanin in your skin, you're expected to be a whole stack of identities. And a lot of us conform to this ideal of African American. And then also, as more people come from other places into American culture that have that skin, and they take ownership of the Black experience and the struggle because they understand what it is to have to walk around in the skin I'm in, of course, Sly Stone. Other people take issue, with, well, were your ancestors slaves, or did they come from Jamaica and all that kind of stuff. So or did they come from Jamaica? Like Jamaicans weren't slaves. Like this, it's a ridiculous argument. Haitians and Dominicans, come on, they're on the same island and they disagree about culture.
Yeah, well, yes, but that was because we're talking about a Dominican leader that purposely tried to erase the history, purposely tried to disassociate with anything African. That's not the fault of the people themselves. That it was their, I mean, there's a whole. We could talk about the practice, but Trump does not speak for me. I didn't vote for him. Yes. So the fact that he's the leader of, that he is in the office of the president here in America is a really unfortunate circumstance as far as I'm concerned, but he doesn't speak for me. And so I don't think that the entire half of the island that is the Dominican Republic should...
Everybody.
It's not everybody.
Yeah, but, did we pay more dues if our ancestors were slaves as opposed to?
We're talking about a film role, and she's an African woman. What is that? If she was African American and looked like me, would I be a better choice to play Harriet Tubman on film?
I honestly don't know.
But that's what I mean. That's why I say this is a ridiculous argument.
People take ownership of their stories, and I guess the bottom line is we still don't feel like we have the power. Every day there's new deals being made in Hollywood where you have black filmmakers actually getting money to tell real stories, and we're still at a point of we act as if we lack power. And I think that was sort of the Tiffany Haddish, maybe that's what Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish were trying to do. You say, because what you were saying earlier comes from The Blacklist, where Chris Rock is speaking, and he said, well, I think black people have truly arrived when we can have mediocre black talent and still succeed. The way baseball, once they broke the color barrier, after a few years, you had black folks that weren't expected to be superheroes on the field, and maybe that's why they made Night Trip, just to prove that you can have mediocrity and still be successful.
But see, Night School. But
I'm sorry, night girls trip, night who? There's 2-3 in a row of those. Anyway.
Here you go.
I keyed. Congratulations, Kevin Hart, Tiffany Haddish. $28 million at the box office. You got us.
People want to laugh. These are hard times. I mean, I'm not holding that against them, but I think
more. I could have freed a lot more people. That's why she had a shotgun. I hope they get the shotgun right. Because you can't get 3 or 4 people in a room, black folks in a room, and get them to agree unless there's a shotgun
But
involved.
Do you agree with me? We don't have this conversation around Idris Elba. We just don't.
You just love him. You love him.
No. Stop. Not me.
Well, a lot of people didn't know. Idris was British until 10 years after The Wire.
And whose fault is that?
He revealed himself.
No,
he came in on the sneak tip.
You about to make me cuss on the air.
Of black culture. He came in on the sneak tip.
Boo. Just because he played a character from Baltimore on The Wire, if people hadn't seen him in other stuff like Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and everything else before he had this huge role, that's their fault.
Stringer Bell, yeah.
I mean, but come on.
We take ownership of Stringer Bell.
Yes. So because he was, she played Celie. Damn! How much? What qualifiers make this so much of a different conversation around her than him? Africans, London born. Period. It's the same cultural background.
Well, we're in a period of xenophobia where people feel threatened that outsiders are taking our jobs, taking our place, and who has the right to speak first.
Phone lines are open, y'all. Because if there are others of you who have very strong feelings about this, you might as well come on and jump into the fray.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for us to question the things that seem to get us up in arms. And this is just an argument that when it comes to socio-political power, if we were talking about them voting, I think that's a whole different thing than the roles that they play on the screen.
Well,
we get a lot of emotion invested in this, and I don't understand why.
The bottom line is that make your own film. If you have a problem with any of the casting or the way people depict us or tell our stories, make your own film, find the resources, get the money, and have the story told, because there's always a level of compromise when it comes to Hollywood, and there's never going to be a truly authentic black film made within that system because of the level of compromise in terms of its need to recoup its investments. So.
That is part of the problem. So 215-634-8065, toll free at 1-866-361-0900. You can mention Mike on Twitter at Reelblack. That's REEL. And you can mention me at WURD_S Renee. That's at WURD_SRENEE. And we will add your comments to this conversation. But, that's why I pulled out Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of this is misogynoir. I think that we hold our sisters to a different level of accountability, especially when it comes to what we see of them on screen, than we do other folks. I just really think we do. Because there are a few people who are going to argue, as much as I appreciate Beyonce's music, I'm not riding hard for Beyonce the actress. I'm not.
Beyonce as Harriet Tubman, that would be something.
No, but I just mean that, people who aren't familiar with the play for colored girls, a lot of them were satisfied with Tyler Perry's film, which I absolutely detested because it was not in the spirit of the original writing.
Yeah.
He switched poems into other people's mouths, and they mean something completely different when they're said by a different character. He added a character that didn't need to be added into the story at all. Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg is the lady in white. These kinds of things, we don't argue about that, but we now want to argue about a little African woman playing Harriet Tubman who has phenotypically African features, which we would think we would demand of anybody playing Harriet Tubman on screen. Yeah. I think part of this is that it's taken us until what will be 2020 before this film is actually released to get a film on Harriet Tubman.
Well, can we get a time machine and can we stick Cicely Tyson inside of it so she can play Harriet Tubman?
If Harriet Tubman, if Cicely was in 93, then I'm sure that would happen.
They would have had the Harriet Tubman a long time ago. Right. Cicely would have done it.
Around Sounder. And basically, people would have completely accepted that.
She was killing it, playing those oppressed slave people, Miss Jane Pittman. I think I'm gonna, and actually I should make before we go to break. Smithsonian Institution, their tickets for January, the African American Museum went on sale Wednesday. It might be sold out, but what they're doing in the month of January, it's just walk-ups all during the week, Monday through Monday through Thursday.
Yes.
Anybody, you don't need a time ticket. You can just show up, and it's first come, first served, right? So
but there's no guarantee that you'll get in.
No guarantee, but of course, and January is especially around King holiday. I don't think you want to be there then. And then if you have a group of more than 10, you do need the time tickets. But Cicely, she should donate her head wrap collection from all those 70s movies that she did and have them at the Smithsonian.
I'm the one sitting closest to the window, y'all, so I'm afraid of the lightning bolt.
Well, they actually have Harriet Tubman's Bible. That's from the Bloxon collection. I need the head wraps from all of the Cicely Tyson 70s movies.
And on that note, we are going to take our first break. If you want to chime in on this conversation, the depiction of blackness on screen, does it matter if they are American born or not? And if you have an opinion one way or the other, why do you feel the way you feel? Jump into the conversation as we continue with this week's edition of Real Black Radio on the other side of this break. For those of you who don't know how hard it is for jazz to win Album of the Year, I play selections from this album all the time because the year that this album won, Justin Bieber was up for something. Usually record of the year and album of the year, as far as Grammys are concerned, is the realm of pop music. Yeah. Every now and again, a country artist or every now and again, an R&B artist will come and snatch something. But almost never is it jazz. And so I think, as we talk about people being retroactively given credit for their body of work in years, the year that this album, River, the Joni Letters, won, I think the Academy was saying to Herbie, we haven't really acknowledged you much since your Miles Davis days. So, this is an opportunity for us to say you are a master. And that was the beginning of his version of Joni Mitchell's song, Both Sides Now.
Nice.
Beautiful stuff.
So we have some callers, but I just wanted to fill in people. So Harriet is the new biopic from Focus Features, and it was announced this week that Janelle Monáe has joined the cast.
Yes.
Which also includes Leslie Odom Jr., Joe Alwyn, Jennifer Nettles, Clark Peters, Vanessa Bell Calloway, Zachary Mamouf, Deborah Ayorende, and Vondi Curtis Hall. So it should be coming out next year. And Casey Lemons is directing.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, if Casey is directing, her husband is never is never far behind. He is always going to have a job as long as his wife is behind the camera.
I'm prayerful that she gets the resources that she needs to get it back on track. I'm a big Casey Lemons fan.
Me too.
But I was disappointed by the Christmas.
Yeah, the Black Nativity.
Black Nativity. Yeah. So, that clearly was like either the wasn't enough story to really justify a movie, or they had to make some last minute changes.
And as someone who has done it on the theatrical stage, I will say that Langston Hughes wrote the original piece very outline oriented, because the main pieces that he wanted people to take away is that the nativity scene is told through the lens of Africa in the first act, and it's told through the lens of the black church in the second act. But in terms of actual dialogue and how that storytelling takes place, is loose. It's very loose. And so depending on who's directing, they have a lot of leeway of borrowing from what Langston gave as the sketch.
So
and turning it into something.
As long as Harry got a shotgun, she's, I could have saved a lot more y'all fools if y'all wasn't hating on who cast me.
So let us hear from those who are on the line. Dr. Ramsey, how you be?
Hey, y'all doing?
Hey.
We're good.
Good to hear your voice.
I've been listening to you as well. I always enjoy the show, but I have one question that I'm hoping somebody can answer. What in the world, what in the bleep is authentically black?
Right.
Somebody straighten that out for me. And if there's an office, please tell me where it is.
Are they handing out black cards? Yes.
I need to register. Can you do it online?
Well, it's not how you feel. It's how society labels you, and then it's also what the media tells us.
Wait, so because Dr. Ramsey is a musicologist,
okay,
let us transfer this into the realm of the sound, Doc, because you hear how frustrated I am with this idea of how we're policing the culture in this way, and I don't understand how people expect us in 2018 and moving forward to stay in some nice, neat, stereotypical box that they've created for us about how these stories get told, who plays them, and what the barometer is for what we are judging people's worthiness in order to take up the mantle. Now, I can honestly say that Zoe Saldana, because of her look and not her background, because she is a diasporic sister, but playing Nina Simone, whose story is so dependent on how she was castigated for her looks and her musical ability, given the fact that Zoe Saldana doesn't sing and doesn't play piano. She was not, to me, she's not the choice. And it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that she's Afro-Latina. It is that she wasn't the choice for that role because the look and the musical ability is so central to that character.
I understand that. That's a clear-cut example of some kind of casting choice gone awry. But what all of this reminds me of is how the idea of blackness is a kind of moving target.
Yes.
It can move. It can mean one thing in 1920. It can mean another thing in 1950. It can mean one thing in Mississippi, cornfield or cotton field. It can mean another thing in a dorm at Dartmouth College.
Yes.
So, what makes me uncomfortable is when thought leaders act as if they, just by how we language about such a thing, that someone somewhere can assign you a melanin meter or
yes
meter, and why that dangerous, I think, and I do say dangerous, is that there are boxes everywhere. If you're trying to be a creative person, the most compelling art in terms of race, the art that interrogates race, is the art that calls into question these very things that we are expected to take as a given and take as the capital T truth.
Yes.
So when I engage art, I am not necessarily trying to duplicate what my perception of reality is. Often what I'm trying to do is to get people to engage artists who, whether it's visual or whether it's sound or whether it's how a sculptor would kind of shape mass and volume and materials.
Yeah.
What I want them to do is to give me a non-didactic view of the world, not the one that I'm presented with every day.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I mean, a tangential question is, what is art? And what is its role and function in our lives and in society? If it's just to duplicate the very boxes that we're trying to escape from on a daily basis, then why go to the film? Why can't I just stay at home
and live
black neighborhood, in my underfunded schools, in my, You understand my?
I certainly do. Yes.
So I mean that's a deep thought. I mean, but in terms of these issues where we take ownership of certain things, and then we feel violated when we find out different information. Where do you think that's coming from? Like the people, going online and saying, well, in terms of authenticity, well, this person, their bloodline doesn't come from here. I mean, in some ways it's a xenophobia for me, but then it's also, it just seems like we always, it's like the bad girlfriend disease. It's like, you can sit wherever you want. And it's like, no, you sit, you choose, and then you sit down where you want to sit down. No, I didn't want to sit there. You should know that, So it just seems like we go through that all
the time. I think it is so incredibly counterproductive, and that's why I'm not fussing at you directly. I'm fussing at the idea, and I agree with you, Doc. I think that there is a lot that we have to. That we have to examine about how the role that we think the artistry is supposed to play in our deeper understanding of things. Right. That, if it's going to, I mentioned this about Rasan Patterson when I was talking to Nate Chinen earlier. He was like, if you want to hear me sing the exact same song, the exact same way, listen to the CD you bought 20 years ago. Right. If I'm allowed to continue exploring, then when you come to my live show, you're going to get something completely different. And we got to give people enough room to walk that road. And
Yeah, and I always say, like, audiences really don't know what they're missing. Right. It's the artist's job to mine and find that thing. So it's a long... we're not criticizing a movie that hasn't even been made yet. Right. But we are talking about the dilemma that we have as a culture of just, being emotionally attached to things without necessarily seeing the whole outcome or the big picture.
Yeah, let's go back to the phone. Stephen, good afternoon.
Yes, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. I want to preface what I'm about to say with the following. If our ancestors, and I don't mean 100 years ago, I mean within the contemporary sense, if our ancestors and our own families and the celebrities in particular had supported the likes of Oscar Micheaux, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. We'd have our own studios, we'd have our own distribution, and we would be competing on an equal level with the invaders, or AKA settlers, pioneers, whatever they want to call them.
Colonizers, et cetera, yes.
Colonizers, exactly. And that is a major aspect to all of this, because you look at Pinewood Studios, you look at so-called Hollywood studios, they bring in whoever they want to bring in, whenever they want to bring in, and they have been telling our story for the longest. We have to tell our own story. But just imagine if we had our own studios, our own distribution.
Well, we've been saying that for the longest too, and there's a lot of factors that go into that.
It's time that we not only talked about it, but we did something about it. And I'm putting this out to those celebrities that live in the area of the Delaware Valley and all over. Just do something about it. They've got the money, they've got the resources. Time to stop competing and trying to be part of a system that is only going to misuse them and enrich themselves off of the abuse. It's about time that we did that. And it's about time me and you and all of us that go to the cinema and support these things, these movies and these efforts, to start supporting our own, to start bringing in our own children, our own young who are artistic and who are in college and who want these endeavors to occur and to manifest, that we support them, that we encourage them, and that we let them and make sure that they look at the history and see that the people that are going to be in this biopic portrayed, that, hey, their efforts will be in vain, all going to be in vain, if we do not make conscious efforts, concrete efforts to make our stance known that we are here and that we are more than just bywords, because we're not black,
right.
we're not African, we're not African American. We are the Americans. We are the originals, whether we're in the UK or any African nation or the States or the islands. We are the original peoples of this earth, and it's about time we set it forth to all those that we are who we are, and we are unapologetically who we are. We are original.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, listen, you was like, you get no argument from us, but I will say that I think sometimes we also need to look at the fact that when we talk about maintaining cultural integrity, that this isn't a problem solely that resides in Black Hollywood, because we have plenty of examples of where this didn't happen in the music industry as well.
Well, there's forces, there's conspiracies, there are legitimate conspiracies.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors. You know, with Michaud, his films weren't super widely seen by anybody at the time. The fact that we still have them as an example is great. And people if you go back to newspapers from that time period, you see people, that's part of the eternal struggle. Ralph Cooper and the Noble Johnson, all these people tried to make inroads.
Yes.
And I think the biggest issue is that we create the culture, but we don't place value on it. We rely on somebody else to place value on who we are. Yep. And name us what we name, and make assumptions about what our culture is. And it's from time immemorial. They said there's a documentary about oil, how it became big business on Amazon Prime. They said oil was just running along the streams in the United States for years. Decades, thousands, tens of thousands of years. It was just
somebody decided to get it, refine it, and monetize it,
and take the land that was on.
Yes.
So it's not. And the same thing with diamonds and chocolate and all this stuff. It's not. It's just there until somebody puts value on it.
Yep.
And I think we need to, to echo what you're saying, place value on ourselves. And that's something I'm struggling with a little bit.
And I will say, we have to get ready to take our final break, but the Hannibal Licumbe said a long time ago, we were on a panel together at Penn, and this haunts me because I think it is absolutely true that using Stephen's frustration that you could clearly hear in who's saying enough already, that we need to own this stuff and we need to really push it forward, is that what white cultural institutions have done since time immemorial is distinguish what they have defined as classics, and they collectively present those classics over and over and over and over again. And so they are accepted as such, not necessarily because the quality of the thing is so high, but because they have established a canon that says these are the undeniable things we are holding up as pillars of our culture.
So every 10 years they're going to remake Spider-Man, they're going to remake certain movies, and then we get reminded of OJ.
I was going to say, well, classical and classical music, organizations like, no offense, Winton, Jazz at Lincoln Center, and other things, they will present, concerts of certain material and not necessarily expect to turn a profit. Over the season, they expect to turn a profit, but they will actually allow a loss on particular shows that are a part of the canon of classics, because they want to keep preserving that legacy. And Black folks, we have a hard enough time owning the buildings where the stuff gets played and made and shown.
Yeah.
So
excellent point. I know we're taking a break. Two things on that. Raising the Sun is out now on Criterion. They finally acknowledged a real black movie, not some experimental thing, as a classic, one of the movies in the canon. And there's 40 minutes of Woody King Jr.'s documentary on black theater is included as a bonus feature. So go out and get that. And then if you're talking about breaking the cycle, big news, Will and Jada Pinkett, they're finally producing a movie that doesn't involve them or their family members. Meek Mill is one of the stars of the narrative remake of 12 O'Clock Boys, which is so fitting because he's one of those biker guys, and now he gets to ride a bike in a movie.
And I'm going to say to you that you should be ashamed, because Will and Jada were involved in the production of Fela. the stage production that didn't involve anybody in their family, and it was wonderful.
I bet you they wanted to be in there.
And anyway,
I want to see the audition.
We got to take our final break. We'll be back to continue this conversation around one of the other new films that are out here in Philadelphia, and will be opening nationally in another 2 weeks. And some of the same controversy around Cynthia Erivo playing Harriet Tubman, Mike is saying, has spilled into that, which is really going to raise the hairs on my neck.
Whenever you make a decision, you ask yourself first, what's in it for me? And then you decide.
We'll be back to share that in just a moment. That is the angelic voice of Audra McDonald, along with the Wynton Marsalis Septet, with a compilation or on a compilation called United We Swing, the best of the Jazz at Lincoln Center galas.
Nice.
And so that was a live recording, as all of them are on this, that they use for their annual gala to raise money for their educational programming and everything else. That was called Creole Love Song.
Yeah, Duke Ellington. So that's one of our classics, you know.
Yes,
but that does bring into question, you know, like what out of all the stuff that we're seeing now, what is going to be the classic 10 years, 20 years from now? Part of it is changing because the way we digest films, we don't all, there's the pipeline is more narrow, so people may be influenced by one thing and not have any awareness of another. So I don't know if we're really going to have another cultural moment on the level of like when, you know, for all the people who are younger, they'll never have the experience of watching Michael Jackson's Thriller at the same time on a night, which they snuck in on us. They actually made a Thriller 3D in IMAX, and it's in theaters now. It's in front of that Jack Black movie. I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, they were talking for like 8 years. We're going to do this.
What is that? The house of something?
Yeah, well, it's
not Goosebumps, because Jack Black is in both.
Whatever one is out there now,
both of them,
the big 3D one. But anyway, it's
okay.
If you can go see the Riverview. I was like, I might just go in just to see Thriller in IMAX, just for that experience. But you know, but coming out today is one that could rank as a classic. It's Hate You Give, and we talked to Algie Smith last week about it, and it's in theaters. I want people to go see it, and also they have a free ticket giveaway for students. If you go online, you can register. I think the screenings are tomorrow. If you happen to be a teenager, they want people to see it and have discussion. I know you had a chance to see it. Any strong thoughts or feelings? Hate You Give.
Oh, well, I personally, I never read the book, so I can only base my interaction with the film content. And I thought that without being gratuitously violent, because, you know, we've seen so many of our young people lose their lives in real life on the streets of Philadelphia and other cities every day, that they conveyed that betrayal and the frustration of what it takes to stand up and try and get justice for someone in this very twisted system with a lot of sensitivity and heart. Yes. And so I really, really appreciated the storytelling aspect, and that they didn't go over the top with any violence in the film in order to drive home the point. It was very emotional without having to rip us apart.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when it's a very nuanced film, I would say. The actors are all great.
Yes, they are.
You know, and showing the family unit. And then it's weird because like set in Oakland and heavily influenced by the Black Panthers and the Muslim movement. But they make a strong point to show that these people are Christian, because it's like, you know, Khalil gets killed, but these folks are eating bacon at breakfast. So it's something for everybody.
Like many Black families do each and every day.
You know, so it's something for everybody. It's a non-denominational Black Lives Matter movie. It's probably the first narrative film that really deals with the issue. And going in 2018, I agree. It's a great film. I think, but what I like is just the discussion afterward, because I think it's more layered in retrospect than I thought as experiencing it, because so much of the movie you see in the trailer and you're kind of like waiting for things to happen. And then also we all experience it day to day, the social media aspect of watching people, you know, being killed on social media and Twitter and everything. So it's like the dilemma that Amanda's character is placed in is not really high stakes, but then the other layers were the family life, the fact that she code switches, and then you actually see her character fully evolve. Her arc is incredible.
But I don't know that you can't say that it's high stakes, because we have this conversation about testifying against the people that we know are in our community causing all of this ruckus,
right,
on a regular basis. So it wasn't high stakes for her in terms of testifying against the officer.
Right.
It was about the kind of ripple effect of her testifying against the officer has on the people who are doing the wrong in the community where she lives.
The screenplay skipped a beat. It made an assumption that people were there already, and then when the third act develops, which is great, you know, and redemption for all the cast of Detroit, they actually get to start a riot. Instead of being victimized in a riot. It misses a couple beats in the first act, but then the ending is very powerful, and just to see her arc is great. And then Star is Born is in theaters. Good movie. If you like Lady Gaga, probably a great movie, because you get to see her and she sings like 20 songs.
And I mean, which Bradley Cooper insisted that they not, you know, kind of do the studio version of the soundtrack and then lay it over the film, that they actually sing this stuff raw. He took vocal lessons so that he could actually sing the songs himself, even though that's not his particular strong suit.
Right.
But I mean, when you're playing opposite Lady Gaga, regardless of what you feel about her persona, she's got a hell of a voice. And so I'm glad that he took that extra step.
Over 2 hours long. I mean, I had a chance to see it, and a few weeks ago, I was a little disappointed Dave Chappelle wasn't in it more, but he was very solid. I mean, this is like the character actor movie. It's like everybody is like just outgunning each other on the character roles and the traits and stuff. And Bradley, I don't know if you like him, it's a different look for him. He's really, really trying hard to be Christopher Christopherson in this movie. But you know, for those who can't wait, go see it. For those who can wait for it, because you got Napoli Ever After on Netflix with Sanaa Lathan.
Yeah, but you can watch that anytime.
That's what I'm saying. Stay home, watch something. You don't have to pay $14 and park and get dressed. You can go right now. As soon as we get off the air, you can put on Napoli Ever After on your phone. You'll be good to go.
I hear you. Well,
which is basically Napoli Ever After on Netflix is basically a Tyler Perry movie where they actually use the money for the budget to actually make the film as opposed to pay for Tyler Perry. You know, it's a pretty good movie, but it's very, very standard play.
We are out of time, but please remind people about your event tonight.
Tonight at the African American Museum, Wilmington on Fire, Christopher Everett will be in conversation with Michael Cord afterwards, and it's a great film. Been trying for 2 years to bring it to Philadelphia. It's a true story. It's a documentary, executive produced by Pete Chapman, about the purge of black folks in Wilmington, North Carolina. And the need for reparations afterwards. You know, people taken from their land, forced to either you leave or you die, and they actually chronicle it. It's an excellent film.
And that history affected a lot of people. A lot of people moved to Philly as a part of that incident, that Philadelphia was considered a haven in the midst of some of this turmoil for people to relocate. So the fact that you're showing it here is a big deal. It's
going to be a great conversation after. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And shout out to Pete Chapman. He has been directing Greenleaf, which I'm now addicted to. So
he did a live stream. He said he's directing TV shows now. He said his intention his first year was to do 3 to 4 shows. He's done 17 episodes of television in 1 year. So he's the king. We have to get him on.
Well, we got to get out of here. Brother Shamari is not in today, so we are going directly to Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. For those of you fans in the listening audience, keep it locked here on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, and streaming live whenever you choose at wordradio.com. Take care, everybody, and we hope to see many of you at the 15th anniversary celebration tomorrow night. Peace.
Camera action, it's on. New black film revolution born. Movers, shakers, big and little filmmakers. Let's make a movie today, see where it take us. Halle Berry, Denzel, and Jamie. Terrence Howard, Mike D, and Spike Lee. Brand new filmmaker born every day. Put a camera in his hand and let him lead the way.